Hey, this is Sarah, and today I am actually doing a review of a physical book. Woo! The Knitting Circle Rapist Annihilation Squad, written by Derek Jensen and Stephanie McMillan. I guess this is, I can't remember what publishing company this is. It just says PM. Yeah, PM Press, out of Oakland, California. So I guess it's a smaller publishing house. And the back just says, the 6 women of the Knitting Circle meet every week to chat, eat cake, and make fabulous sweaters, until the night they realize they've all survived rape, and that not one of their assailants has suffered a single consequence. Enough is enough. The Knitting Circle becomes the Knitting Circle Rapist Annihilation Squad. They declare open season on rapists, with no licenses and no bag limits. With needles as their weapons, the revolution begins. This retails in store at chapters for, I want to say 17? For like 170 pages. To be honest, I hadn't, and I don't, even though I read a lot, I hadn't picked up a physical book that I didn't, wasn't in my collection or had been sitting in my collection for a while, because, I just came into ownership of a load of books, as you do. You borrow things, people forget them at your house, whatever. So I'm actually reading this book because of the fact that I actually joined a book club. Well, I say joined a book club like it was already established, but we're actually having the first meeting tomorrow. I am knitting. I happen to be working on a project. I will leave you the pattern probably up here. So, yeah. This... okay. The book was recommended by a girlfriend of mine from actually my knitting group. She manages a Kohl's, and she was very, very excited about this book, and she really was very excited about the sort of, what she was hearing about it, and she really wanted it to succeed, so she was really bigging it up. And what can I say about it? I mean, it's really, really funny. It's quirky, it's hilariously silly, and it's kind of quite brutally violent. It uses a lot of, like ridiculously unnecessary metaphors, and I found myself giggling. What I really like is the fact that it's a book that is, I don't know, it was just funny, it was silly, it was a light read, it was an easy read. Sometimes you just need one of those ridiculously silly books of, lady solidarity, and I don't know, it was a good book. It's sort of like, I don't know, everything kinda went really easy. It took stereotypes to an extreme. So it was definitely one of those, like, how would I put it this way? It was written like feminist propaganda stereotype. So it was like the women were all smart and the men were all dumb as shit, and were being ridiculous with a few exceptions. But, it was good. And, I mean, the thing is, it does, although it pokes fun, it does make a very important point in the fact that it did use some real statistics. And that, yeah, a majority of rapists, even if caught, are not jailed, and if jailed, not for very long. But that is, that's even assuming that the crime is reported, and too many go unreported, because people just assume that the person that did it was in a position where nobody would, would believe them. So it's a very serious topic. But that said, it was, you know what, I think this book is really good because I think I could see a lot of people reading it and then it becoming a talking point. And I think it's one of those things that, yeah, it would become a talking point and people would discuss, you know, things that had happened to them, and maybe would bring some stuff out in the open, and maybe it would be a few more people that would be able to get it off their chest without holding it all in. Would be my feeling on it. Whether or not that is how it actually works, whether or not that was the reason that they had put the book together, I don't know. The knitting parts were factual, so that was nice. And I also want to move into the cheese factory that they were talking about the whole way through. I was like, I want to eat that cheese. You'd have to read the book to know what I'm on about, but there's a cheese factory. It smells like yummy, yummy cheese. It's fantastic because the characters were like, how can I put it? Their stereotypes, fantastic. Pretty much everybody is a walking stereotype in this book. But especially the women in the knitting circle group, it's like when you look around your group of female friends, you can identify like Bridget the hippie, and Gina, the extremely sensible one, who's always very dependable. Everything's, you know, very orderly and to do. You know, you got Susie and Jasmine, your little quirky ones. You know, you've got a fairly broad spectrum there. It was good. It was good. It was really, you know what, I enjoyed it. It was fun to curl up with at the end of the day. And I'm glad I read it, and I will actually be passing it around to my mom and my aunts. And I think that was one thing that was really nice, was finding a book that I actually enjoyed, and I'm not a big fiction reader, like fiction, just normal fiction. I like fantasy and sci-fi and stuff like this. And the fiction that I tend to read tends to be the sort of stuff that I couldn't, you know, recommend to my mom. You know, we couldn't laugh about. She wouldn't enjoy the sort of stuff that I read, and I don't enjoy the sort of stuff that she reads a majority of the time. But this would be something really nice that I could pass around to my mom and my aunts and my older lady friends. You know, because it wasn't shocking. You know, and as my mom is always fond of saying, you know, why couldn't they write about something nice? Because that's my mom's response about way too much. You know, why couldn't they draw something nice? She wants everything to be nice, and she doesn't want any violence, and she wants everything to be lovely, lovely. So, I think that this was, you know, there's a lot of, like, really brutal murder in this book, but it's presented in such a way where it's sort of like, it's like fluffy pastel ducks are just existing over top of it. I don't know how else to explain it. It's a bit ridiculous. The book's a bit ridiculous. It's really funny. I definitely think that you should check it out. I think most people would enjoy it. I think it's a nice, if nothing else, it's a nice silly bit of fluff. And if you're like, there's a sensible lady in my life, I don't know what they like to read, I think that this is a really good book that you could pretty much, I think, give to anybody, because you don't have to be a big knitting fan. You don't have to be a woman to find it funny. It's just, it's interesting and it's quirky. And I think a lot of people would really, you know, get a kick out of it. Do you know what I mean? It's a very easily giftable book, which is, you know what, really nice sometimes, because sometimes the hardest thing in the world is finding, you know, finding books for people in your life that don't necessarily read a lot that you can give to them. And I think this is definitely a book that falls into that category. It's very accessible, it's very amusing, and I found it very, like, it was a struggle to put it down. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's the Knitting Rapist, the Knitting Circle Rapist Annihilation Squad. Seriously, buy it. Alright, thanks very much, guys. Bye!